This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'm Matt Fanslow, and curiosity killed the cat, but for a while, I was a suspect. That and more after a word from our sponsor, Napa Autotech Training. So, are you looking for the right training provider that offers cutting-edge courses to hone your automotive skills? Well, let Napa Autotech take you to the next level. Go to napaautotech.com for more details about classes near you. Well, welcome to another episode of Big Ideas. Really too small of a brain to tie it all together or reason it out logically. I think it's almost like what my dad used to say about eyes being bigger than your stomach. In this case, it's ideas being bigger than my brain. But I kind of want to talk about curiosity. I suppose initially the idea came to talk about it from just overhearing some conversations at work. They could be between techs. They could have been between back of house, front of house, service advisors, techs. It could be conversations between management and employees and vice versa. And also clients, really whoever. And just, I don't know, being, for whatever reason, particularly aware of judgment and seeing/hearing judgment and wondering, like, what is the salve for judgment? What is the counter? I don't mean counter as like if somebody's being judgmental towards you or me, although this would work, but also as the one who is being judgmental. How do I avoid being judgmental? And I arrive at curiosity, genuine curiosity. And without like going down this road, a quick tangent, or I suppose the direction that's most obvious to the vast majority of us that fix cars or try to fix cars day in and day out, curiosity is very powerful in our journey to being better and better and better and becoming the best we can be, whatever that means, whatever that is. Curiosity with the car sitting there with whatever concern and being genuinely curious as to what is the root cause, what is causing this issue, what is causing the symptom that the client does not like. That seems to be the most obvious correlation or reason to talk about curiosity, because that can drive you to essentially apply the scientific method to the broken car. This is something that, if you've ever sat through an Eric Ziegler class, that he brings up, the scientific method. And it's a process that's not new. We maybe don't think of it that way when we're going through the process of an analysis leading to a diagnosis. That's essentially what you're doing. And it's spurned by curiosity. What could be the cause? Okay, what hypothesis do I have as to why this is happening? What experiment could I set up to prove or disprove? If I really want a scientific mind, I need to disprove this idea. And working through that process of disproving, and building up support for the new hypothesis. If we need one, maybe our original one was right. Taking it up to, at least an hour situation in the shop, a working theory that ends up leading to the repair, the correction, if you will. That's the most obvious link or relationship of curiosity. But we could go a step further, still in the base, or as a practical application or direct application to the task of diagnosing and repairing vehicles, is genuine curiosity on how things work. Why are things the way they are? What is a practical or applicable understanding of electricity? Why, when I bring this vehicle in that's been to more than one shop because the turn signals don't work and it's had multiple flashers put in to no avail, why, when I grab my low impedance, if you will, or a test lamp that uses a incandescent bulb, or I use an adapter that allows me to use a 194 bulb or a 3156 or 57 bulb or something of that nature. So as I start questioning these things, why, maybe my research, which might be diving into electrical theory. And I'm not talking like high level stuff. I'm not talking about pulling up freaking Feynman lectures. I'm talking about stuff aimed at us, entry level, electrical 101 type stuff, where now you're looking at this bulb as, when I put this on the circuit, when I use this to test rather than an LED, let's say, an LED type logic probe, the turn signals start working because I've added a load here. So what I have now doesn't have enough load on the circuit to cause the flasher to do its job and break the circuit, cool off, which it would do anyways, but after it opens, cool, shut, get hot, open, causing the flashes to work. Well, this is old school, older vehicle. So what the heck's going on? And maybe they stuck some LEDs in this thing. Maybe they just used the wrong bulbs. Or maybe there's bulbs in the circuit, in the taillight housings, if you will, that there's more than one and it's hard to just see it because maybe they're conveniently blown or burned out, if you will, in certain areas that are equal side to side. So it's symmetrical and it doesn't immediately catch your eye. It's like, oh man, this thing has some burned out bulbs. That's all that's wrong. Schematic doesn't necessarily point out that there's more than one turn signal bulb in the back. Or, whoever replaced the bulbs didn't look up application and they just grabbed whatever would fit. It does not pull enough current, doesn't let the flasher work the way it needed to work as a circuit breaker. And maybe, just maybe, and more common, right, that we see nowadays, they stuck some LEDs in there. And now you need to figure out how to either load the circuit with resistors, or I've seen some people put hidden bulbs in, which is kind of freaky, or a LED friendly flasher. That curiosity. And that led to fixing a car, but now keeping going with that, sitting at home, wondering more about electricity, wondering more about combustion, wondering more about internal operation of an automatic transmission or a CVT, or, EVs are kind of drenching us with all kinds of EV information and talk of these coming into our bays, and we really haven't seen any, and being genuinely curious about what will I be up against? What will I be up against when that first Leaf comes through the door? What will I be up against when that first Model 3 comes through the door? What do I need to be or do to be prepared? Curiosity. And then kind of going back to how I opened the episode, and really another area where curiosity ends up being extremely powerful is dealing with people, interacting with people, having relationships with people. From a management standpoint, having genuine curiosity prevents you from being judgmental. It's so easy to pull up a report or pull up reports or look at a graph of performance and seeing that Tech B is on a decline and immediately judging that they're getting lazy, immediately judging that they've just decided to put it in cruise control. They lack motivation. So easy. And yet, curiosity would be, I wonder why. Maybe there's more to this. There's an author/speaker named, I think it's Simon Sinek, that in such situations says, as you're starting to come up with this idea, this narrative, this judgment of what and why this report is showing a decrease in performance, and you're now catching yourself going, well, they must be getting lazy. They're not motivated anymore. I might have to find a new way to motivate them. Start coming up with, I think his goal is to come up with 21 reasons that could cause this. One of them being he could be lazy, or she. He or she could be getting lazy. He or she could be lacking motivation. Those could be 100% true. Could be. What if they're sick? I ain't telling anybody. Could that be it? Sure. Okay. That's one of them. We're up to 3. Now let's come up with 18 more. Can we? Being curious. What could be? Coming up with the hypothesis. and then working to disprove yourself and asking, going out and genuinely asking with curiosity, not judgment, not standing there with your arms folded, basically using accusations in question format, going out with genuine curiosity or pulling them into your office with genuine curiosity. I'm looking at your numbers. They seem to be going down. Is everything okay? Seriously, are you okay? How's your health? How's everything at home? I'm curious what would be your ideas as to why these numbers have plummeted, or maybe not plummeted, but trended down. Again, work to disprove yourself, work to disprove them, not with like animosity, but genuinely just wanting to know the freaking truth. Napa Autotech training sessions are being conducted day and night in a town near you. This training caters to every level within your organization, be it a mechanical assistant, a mechanical specialist, a technology specialist, or a driver safety calibration specialist. Imagine a one-stop shop training partner in Napa Autotech that will lead your team to a path to greatness. Autotech's entry-level Build-A-Tech classes convert the untapped potential of your new hires into money-making mechanical specialists. Autotech's higher-level tech update classes introduce specialists to the world of ever-changing technologies, which prevents your shop from getting technologically stagnant. Remember, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And, turning to the front of the store, the Autotech Service Advisor class is an awesome way to hone your client advocate skill set, ultimately benefiting the customer through an improved vehicle repair experience. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine an electric vehicle class that takes your specialist well past the mundane, yet necessary safety topics. Well, it's here. Autotech's EV Ready training is a week-long curriculum that takes participants through a hands-on experience involving hybrids and electric vehicles. The session kicks off with the use of PPE and proper tooling while touching on required OSHA regulations. Then, the students dive into the lab vehicles to gain knowledge of the common high-voltage components on EV and hybrid vehicles and their function. Attendees will be taken on a path exposing them to different electric vehicle manufacturers to compare component form and location. Additionally, information about Level 1 and Level 2 charging systems will be included, along with a quick look at DC to DC charging. The operation and maintenance of subsystems are explored, including the different modes of Tesla operations, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Commit to taking your business to the next level with Napa Autotech training. It kind of gets back a little bit to an episode I did a while ago, episode 85 on improving our processes and identifying common cause versus special cause. What is a common cause that is inherent, baked into the system? So if this is an issue that we're seeing and it's a common cause, it's an issue with the system, it can only really be long-term corrected by changing the system. Well, that requires curiosity. That requires a desire to know the truth and digging further than our own biases and digging further than our own judgment. Like, oh, yeah, again, the parts from this part store must just plain suck. That's why they keep failing. We'll just stop buying from there. It could be true. It could be installer error. It could be a lot of things. Why not dive into it? And then on the flip side, employees, us, the guys in the back, when management does something we dislike, whatever that may be, decide to move things around, decide to change processes. Instead of passing judgment right away, it's like, oh man, they just went to that freaking training conference and now they come back with seminar high and oh, here we go, we got to change everything again. Could that be the case? Absolutely. Could be 100% the case. Or we could go ask and be genuine. I would like to know why. And not like you owe me an explanation, but I mean, take interest. I'm interested to know why we're changing this process. I thought it was working well, or we thought it was working well. Just very interested to know. It's just kind of dropped on us, has us back on our heels a little bit. And you find with approaching it that way, people are a little more open. With sharing whys, but also for counters, for retorts, and just saying like, okay, well, I understand now. I think I understand your perspective. I think I'm seeing things from your perspective. And now in thinking about this, I have a concern about this. And all of a sudden you're having a hopefully grown-up conversation about processes and what's best for business. what is the best for the long term for the shop or the business? And because of that, it should benefit everybody instead of judgment, which just seems to start breeding toxicity because somehow we just know. We didn't get our reviews this year. Freaking shop owner's making more money than he's ever made or she's ever made, and she's getting greedy instead of just asking, being genuinely interested, and go and, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? I'd like to inquire. And then maybe they see they're mortified that they forgot, or there's a good reason, or maybe not even all that good, but at least a reason that you can then have a conversation about. And this carries over to the front too, like the point of sale counter. Wouldn't it be great if customers were more curious when they're not so happy about their bill or the estimate? Or I guess, unfortunately, sometimes repairs don't go right, or there's issues afterwards, maybe caused by us, maybe not, maybe totally unrelated. But when they show up in the ever since you, wouldn't it be great if they were curious rather than judgmental? Wouldn't it be great if they were just asking questions and not assuming we're crooks? But we can't control them. We can control us. We can control ourselves. We can set expectations within the business, within the shop, of how we will be treating our clients, and that will be with curiosity. So when they come to us with their concerns, and I mean concerns beyond my car's making noise every time I come to a stop sign. Of course, we want to be curious to get the whole story: when, where, how, why, as much details as we can to put our mechanical specialists in the best position possible to make a correct diagnosis and not go on a tangent because of faulty information. Of course, absolutely need to be curious there, but also when they're not so happy with their estimate, acting in good faith with just genuinely being interested in what they think, what they feel. Because if you start passing judgment like, oh God, here we go, they'd complain if they got hung with a new rope. It's like, oh yeah, they're always tightwads. If you know that person's got money, and then they complain about every freaking dollar. Oh my God. Or what do they expect? Just so much judgment. And we do it without even thinking. I do it. I know I do it. I'm working on it. I'm trying not to so much anymore, or at all, but at least baby steps, right? We do it because it's kind of baked into our culture. It's baked into our entertainment when we're watching whatever shows. Like, a lot of times that's part of the comedy is the judgment or drama, right? It's like that's what attracts. That's what they do to lure us in and keep us, is the drama. And then instead of art imitating life, life starts imitating art. And next thing you know, we're being dramatic, and we're doing it by being judgmental, and then destroying safe spaces for interactions and wondering why we're so devalued. And that's not the only reason. There's so many more. That's a whole different topic. But yeah, it would be great if customers would come in with curiosity rather than judgment. But we can set our standards. And my argument is the standards are curiosity, and then also just as a technician, as a technical specialist, as somebody who wants to be able to analyze vehicles to come up with accurate diagnostic decisions. And I don't know, I guess from early on, right? It's nothing new. I've said many times, like, I've always driven by wanting to know the truth and how it really works. And yeah, that can be a rabbit hole, but it's fun. And a lot of times wildly inapplicable. You can't apply it to anything we do. Rattle off a bunch of concepts that maybe sound cool in conversation, but I don't think have ever helped me figure out anything on a car, much less anywhere at any time. But being genuinely curious to learn more, to just applicable level, to be able to apply it. That's what really makes some of the best techs that I know, technical specialists. When you start rattling off whatever names you would put into whatever pantheon, all of them curious, genuinely curious. They want to know. And they're not scared to be wrong. They don't like it, but not scared to be wrong. Ask questions. So I will leave you with that. Maybe scratching your head, going, why does he keep doing this? Why does he keep trying to take these ideas and make sense of them? He just doesn't have it. But I can see it at the shop level. And then quite honestly, if we want to just take a quick road trip into personal life, you will find that just being genuinely curious with your other relationships, kids, family, mom, dad, sister, brother, spouses, neighbors, just being genuinely curious and not judgmental. If you're genuinely curious with somebody that cuts you off in traffic, this just saves you a lot of freaking stress. If you start rattling off 21 reasons they cut you off, and one of them is they're just terrible drivers, you still have to come up with 20 more, and then all of a sudden you find like one of those could be true, and that doesn't make them a terrible driver. So curiosity can be a very, very powerful combatant to judgment and to condescension and criticism, and especially like criticism, I guess, is condescension from where you think you're in a very superior position. So whatever that means, like either power or just you're so much smarter than them. It's a very, very powerful tool against that. And we're not taught it at all, amongst many things. But hopefully I can spark some curiosity. And I'm curious to segue after segue. I'm curious to hear about your thoughts about this episode, other episodes, ideas for other episodes. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on social media. You can also send me an email, mattfonslowpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Matt Fanslow, diagnosing the aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fanslow on social media and connect or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.